Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning, has a person killing people at a halfway house. Tommy Jarvis is back, played by a different actor this time. So, let's get started. The positives on this film are Ethel is kind of an entertaining character. She has such a vulgar mouth, and it's pretty entertaining to watch. Whenever she's on screen, it's very entertaining to watch her just talk and see what she's gonna say, whatever she's gonna say on screen. Now on to the negatives. The characters are just kind of annoying. Joey gets the laundry dirty. There's too many characters just to pad out the body count. Like the greasers, there's lots of people in the house. Ethel and Junior. I'm sure there's tons more that I don't know. The ambulance driver, the guy who's gonna take the chick out when he's at the restaurant. Like, just a bunch of characters, but they're in like one, maybe two scenes, and it's just, none of them are really memorable. So, characters just not that memorable. There's too many. There's really no standout kills in the movie. It's much more quantity than quality. Not really any kills that would be on like my top 13 kills of the franchise. Yeah, the kills are just not bloody. I think this is when like the MPAA was really cracking down on horror movies and like not having a lot of gore and whatnot, so it really hurts this movie, and it's really gonna hurt the next few movies, because not until like part 9 is when we actually get some really good gore back. So this is like the first movie in the franchise of where it's a string of Friday the 13th movies where there's just really not that many good kills. And they're just not that graphic. The mystery is terrible. It's actually the opposite. It's actually the opposite negative of what the first one was. The first movie didn't give any clues of who it could be. Because you never see Pamela Voorhees until the last 15 minutes of the movie. This one is so blatantly obvious it's Roy Burns. I mean, like, when they're picking up the two greaser guys when they died, like, the next morning, one of the cops is like, who in the world could be doing this? And Roy Burns is picking up the body and like, you talking to me, Sheriff? Oh, I thought you were talking to me. Like, it's so ridiculous. And after Joey's body, after Joey dies and Roy Burns comes to pick it up, it's like, he's looking at the body, and then he just looks into the camera. Like, very intensely. Very intense. So it's just so blatantly obvious that it's Roy Burns. So, you either have the first one where they give you no clues, or you either have the fifth one where they're basically telling you who the killer is within 20 minutes of the movie. This movie, honestly, it just does nothing new. It's just kids being killed at a halfway house now, instead of, I mean, like, that's already kind of like part 4. Where, I mean, like, when you go through them, part 1 is a bunch of camp counselors dying around the camp. Part 2 is camp counselors dying around a camp. Part 3 is people at a house dying at Crystal Lake, but not at a camp. Instead, it's at a house. Part 4 is also people dying, people getting killed at a house instead of like camp counselors. So this one just still doesn't do anything new. And this movie, it's kind of just like a bunch of horror skits instead of like an hour and a half actually trying to form in a movie, because you got Ethel and Junior and their little thing at their house where he's riding on the bike like, "You hear me, Mom?" And like she's making stew or something, and then they both get killed. And then you have Billy and Lena at the diner or whatever, and that's kind of like its own little horror thing. And then you have the two greaser guys with the dead car. That's like its own little horror short. So it almost just doesn't feel very cohesive. And it's like, these are all random characters instead of like part 4, where it's like you have a lot going on in part 4, but at least it's a group of friends and they just happen to split off into their own little things. Another negative on the movie is Tommy is just such a psychopath. He doesn't feel like the same resourceful kid from part 4. He's beating people up. He has PTSD, which I mean I get, but I mean like he's just he just doesn't feel like the same Tommy Jarvis from part 4. This movie also kind of has a stupid dream ending, Tommy killing Pamela, but not really. So that was all kind of annoying. And the last negative is, they don't even explain why Roy Burns hid that he had a son, or if he knew his son was at the halfway house. So the murder spree happens because Roy's son, that he never sees ever, got killed. So that's not good. Like, pick your kid up. Like, he clearly has a picture of Joey in his wallet, so pick him up, live with him, or it's just not even explained that they're father and son until the last 10 minutes of the movie. At least Pamela Voorhees felt like she loved Jason. She at least seemed like she did hang out with Jason. So, in the end, this movie is really boring and uninspiring. Uninspired. I just really don't like it. It's just annoying, boring, uninspired. So, it makes for kind of one of the worst Friday the 13th movies out there. I don't know if it'll be the worst one, but it's down there in like the bottom third of the movies. So that's my review on Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. Thanks for watching.